Exactly. But what I won't do is I won't dance, so don't ask me. But if we asked Aamir Khan, do you think he might go a-dancing, Mr. Mike White?
Oh, without a doubt.
Especially with that hat.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Oh, my God. That hat. So we were actually supposed to talk about another movie on the last episode, and that episode ended up not happening, unfortunately. But Shah Rukh Khan in that movie, Kabhi Han Kabhi Na, has the same hat that Aamir Khan is wearing in this movie. This, like, very... it's like a pilot's hat?
Yeah, I kept waiting for him to board a ship.
I don't know what this hat is supposed to be, because it has nothing to do with his profession, which he doesn't have.
Well, selling bootleg movie theater tickets, because there's a lot of movie theater scalpers out there.
Yes, sure. Apparently.
Yeah.
But on this episode of the Culture Cast, we are still talking about Indian cinema films, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about 1995's Rangeela. I am joined by my two good friends all the way from somewhere in the Midwest of this country, Mondo Heathers, Heather Drain.
I go by many names, Chris, but I will take that as long as they're all nice.
Why would anyone say anything mean about you?
I don't know.
Now that nasally Detroiter Mike White,
he's lovely.
That's right.
You guys hear my voice? Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. And as always, joining me once again is my good friend and yours. He is the host of the Projection Booth Podcast, the internet's greatest movie podcast, Mr. Mike White.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Always. Anytime. Especially when we're talking about that dastardly, charming man, Aamir Khan, and Jackie Shroff. Again, Mike, 2 years in a row now we're talking about a movie that has Jackie Shroff in it.
Yeah, what was the last one we saw him in? Because he was so familiar.
Parinda.
Okay. I kept thinking he was in Mr. Bond because of the way they were talking about that movie, Mr. Bond, through the whole film.
Yeah, there's like a huge poster for it in there, which is beautiful. I'm sure Westgate Gallery has it.
Oh, yeah. You post about this on Twitter, they're going to come right back at you with a picture of it.
And it's going to be like the most exquisite poster. They're amazing.
Oh, yeah.
No, but Jackie Shroff was he was the other brother in Parinda. He was the brother that had, he was the brother that hadn't gone straight in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that movie, unlike this movie, is fucking brutal. This movie is just kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. And so on this episode of the Culture Cast, we are talking about Rangeela, which is a film about dancing, coincidentally, in India. Who'd have thunk it?
सपना तोड़ दिया। क्या सपना था मालूम? सपने में मैं गा रही थी, नाच रही थी, झूम रही थी और मेरे साथ साथ सारी दुनिया झूम रही थी। क्या कर रहे हो? पागल हो गया तुम? ला ला बस भी करो। चल मेरे संग संग ले ले दुनिया के रंग।
अरे यार, तुम्हें तो तारीफ करनी चाहिए कि तुम्हारी बेटी ख्वाब में भी वो चीजें देखती है जो उसे बनना है।
10 का 30
ये 2 टिकट देना।
चल निकाल 30 के 2 नोट।
क्या?
अरे 60 रुपए निकाल रहे हैं।
पिक्चर का टिकट है क्या?
नहीं, बस क्या है, मांगते हैं।
क्या हो गया?
क्या हुआ? अगर इसने डिफिकल्ट डांस स्टेप्स हो गए तो मेरे लिए भी डांस नहीं करेगी। अगर उसको कुछ हो जाता तो।
अरे हम लोग रोज यहाँ इसलिए आते हैं कुछ डांस सीखे, अच्छी एक्टिंग करे, कुछ बनने के बारे में सोचे। ऐसा थोड़ी ना होता है कि भाई आए डांस करे चले गए, आए डांस करे चले गए।
अरे आप कब से बोल रहे हैं छोड़ दे। सही है, काली पीली शूटिंग के चक्कर में तेरा सैंडल गिर जाएगा।
हो गया तेरा लेक्चर शुरू।
अरे हटा सावन की घटा। किसी सेठ की गाड़ी में बिस्किट खाने वाला कुत्ता बनने से अच्छा है कि अपन सड़क पे मस्ती करेगा। क्या बोलते हैं बक्या? सही है बाप।
तुम लोग नहीं सुधरोगे।
मिली कहाँ चले?
अपना ये कहना जीना हो तो अपन के जैसे ही जीना। गाड़ी बंगला नहीं ना सही ना सही, बैंक बैलेंस नहीं ना सही ना सही, टीवी वीडियो नहीं ना सही ना सही, शूटिंग सेटिंग नहीं ना सही ना सही।
अब गया तो बच्चों पढ़ने वाली तेरे को।
मोतीलाल, बॉल किसने मारा? मुन्ना ने मारा।
ये झूठ बोलता है। बैटिंग मैं कर रहा था, तू कर रहा था।
अरे तू ही तो बोला सिक्सर मार के दिखाता हूँ।
मैं बोला? मैं क्या बोला?
अरे अभी तो बोला छोटा बच्चा समझ में मुझ में दादागिरी करता है।
तो... अरे पिक्चर देखने का अपन को।
कौन सा पिक्चर?
अरे वो है ना वो कौन सा, वो राजकमल वाला यार, क्या नाम है उसका?
मिस्टर बॉन्ड।
पैर नीचे लेना। अबे तो पैर देख रहा है, पिक्चर देख रहा है, चला के देख।
क्या हुआ मुन्ना?
अरे कुछ नहीं आंटी, जरा सी बात को चिंगम के माथे चीट डाला उसने। अरे थोड़ा पैर फैलाया तो क्या हुआ? वो आगे वाला पिक्चर देखने आया था मेरा पैर। अपन पब्लिक है, पब्लिक। क्या किसी को भी कुछ भी बोल सकता है? जिसमें अपना पैसा वसूल नहीं उसका डब्बा गुल। अपन उंगली से शादी बनाने का यार।
शादी? मुन्ना भाई शादी कर रहे ना।
अरे मैं बोलता हूँ ना बाप, सही मौका मिला है, मार दिया थोड़ा।
अरे तू पागल हो गया क्या? ये कोई जगह है प्यार का बात करने के लिए? साला मेला चल रहा है, अब उनको साइलेंस चाहिए, साइलेंस।
तेरे को साइलेंस चाहिए ना, तो मैं किस सकता हूँ यहाँ से? मैं क्या कहूँ कबाब में थी वो देख चार्ली, पकड़ ले उसे, बात बोलना। ऑल द बेस्ट। अरे
मिली
वो क्या था?
अब वो तो आइसक्रीम लाने गया। मिली अपन तेरे को एक बात बोलता है। अपन क्या बोलता है कि अपन तेरे को कुछ बोलता है।
मुन्ना जल्दी से बोलो ना, लेट हो जाएगा।
वो अपन क्या बोलता है कि वो क्या फसला जगह है ये? नहीं फसला जगह है। अरे सुन ना, अपन तेरे को एक बात बोलता है।
बोल।
अपन तेरे को क्या बोलता है कि
बोल ना।
वो अपन सुबह अपन वो राइट पे बैठा था ना, उसमें अपन भी बहुत डर गया था। अपन भी डर गया था।
डर गया था ना? तुम डर गया था ना?
बहुत डर गया था।
मुझे मालूम था। शूट है, चल अभी।
चल मार मत, क्या करता है?
क्यों नहीं किया? कुछ नहीं
मुकाबला बहुत मोटा हो गया तूने।
ओह माय गॉड, कहाँ फंस गई?
कौन हो तुम?
मैं? मेरा नाम मिली है।
मिली?
सरोज जी है ना, सरोज खान, उनके साथ में डांसर हूँ।
So the film is directed by Ram Gopal Varma. It is based on a story by Ram Gopal Varma, and it stars, like we've already mentioned, Urmila, Matondkar, and Aamir Khan and Jackie Shroff. And the film is about Urmila Matondkar as a woman who knows how to dance, who gets cast in a movie opposite Jackie Shroff, and her friend, who's in love with her, played by Aamir Khan, feels like he can't hold a candle to Jackie Shroff, and boy, he's wrong. Dead wrong. Dead wrong, folks. So, Mike, just to start with you, because I know that this is a movie that you had seen before. When did you first see Rangeela? What was it like the first time you saw it? And what is it like rewatching it now to talk about on the Culture Cast?
I probably saw this back in 1998. I was working with a lady who found out that I liked films a lot. And so she actually hooked me up with a copy of the soundtrack first on cassette tape. So that dates the story. And I fell in love with the soundtrack, finally found the movie, which was kind of difficult back then. I can't even remember how I got a copy of it. Maybe she hooked me up with one, but I barely remembered the movie, and I didn't remember that this was Aamir Khan in here. This movie, I mean, we talk a lot about like, oh yeah, Bollywood movies, they're all musicals, and you know, musicals suck and they don't make sense, and just everything stops for the songs. And this one kind of fits into that a little bit. Like there are moments where the songs aren't necessarily motivated, or it's a lot of like emotional singing rather than like singing in the moment. But goddamn, do I love this music. So fucking good. And from what I understand, this was A.R. Rahman's first score. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Holy shit. I love the music in this. The story, whatever. It kind of goes on for a little too long for me. It's because there's not a whole lot of other plots to it. It's not like there's, you know, somebody was kidnapped and they're going to be reunited with their father or something like that. I mean, there's just basically like a love triangle, and you know, she doesn't even know that Muna is in love with her, and I think Raj Kamal knows it better. But yeah, I really like this, and I thought the stars were just completely charming in this.
What about you, Heather? Had you ever seen Rangeela before?
No, in fact, I was telling Mike before we started recording, this is my first Bollywood movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So
holy cow.
You got to break me into this amazing world, and I'm really ashamed that it's taken me this long. You know, and that's the thing. It's like, God, I mean, India has such a huge film industry, and it's like so many of us in America know so little, you know, about it, if anything. And that's something I definitely want to rectify. And so thank you for giving me this chance.
Of course.
To do that.
It's so funny, Heather, because this was my entree as well. So it's like all these years later, it's your entree.
Twinkies. Yay. Mike and I are literally twins.
Well, and
it's the eyes. You can tell it in the eyes. Yeah.
And what's funny to kind of both of your points, like I think this is a really easy entry point into Indian cinema. And the reason is I think it goes directly to what you mentioned, Mike, which is the plot is almost unimportant. Like the plot, like you know the plot of this movie because the plot of this movie is pretty boilerplate. It's any, you know, you can watch a ton of American movies like this movie, but there are also plenty of, I mean, a lot, just like in American cinema, a lot of Indian cinema is rom-coms and love triangles. And I mean, it's like any other industry. So it just happens to have charismatic actors who you really believe are like, that's the thing. I've always, like Indian cinema for me, I always believe the actors as the characters. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what it is, but I don't know. I think the expressive nature of the way that they're acting, and you could even go as far as to say overacting. I don't prescribe to that theory, but these Indian cinema films are full of big emotions big music and big performances, and the whole motivation behind that is these movies, when you go see them, it's an event. This is you're going to the cinema with your family. There's gonna be some of these movies have an intermission because they're 3.5 hours long. You go and you're getting your food and you're coming back to your seat. It's a thing. You want to be there. It's not this thing in America where it's like the movie's 3 hours long. Oh my fucking God. Can you guys believe it? It's like we're glad that the movie's 3 hours long because we're getting our money's worth. And again, this movie's not 3.5 hours long. It's 2.5 hours long. To your point, Mike, it probably overstays its welcome by about 20 minutes. But again, you know, I've seen some of these movies that are 3.5 hours long that overstay their time by an hour.
Right.
So I'll take a movie that overstays its welcome by a half an hour over a movie that overstays its welcome for an hour. That being said, this was my first time watching Rangeela and my second Aamir Khan film. The first one being a movie that you watched earlier this year, Mike, which was Lagan, which is, I mean, you watched it. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And it is 3.5 hours long. It's almost 4.
Oh, it's yes, totally epic. Well, that's the thing about Amir Khan is the guy looks so different a lot of times. I mean, he like him in Dangal, the way he ages through that movie, or him in what's that one, PK, where he's an alien, where he does have ears that stick out at the sides, and they just kind of emphasize that, and that makes him look like not quite human. And the way he holds his face and everything in that film, he just does such a wonderful job. And yeah, I'm super impressed with this guy. I really I want to track down a lot more of his stuff because I really find him to be totally charismatic.
So the other movie that I would suggest, and we talked about it last year, and I want to rectify what I said. This is my third Aamir Khan film. The second one is a movie that strikes very near and dear to my heart because it's about familial expectations, especially in academia. It's called 3 Idiots. It's about 3 friends who go off to engineering school in India where it's very competitive and, you know, all the trappings that come with that. But Aamir Khan plays kind of the friend who everybody thinks is the screw up and the one who doesn't take everything seriously, but he's like secretly the smart, not secretly, but he's like the one who breaks the mold and he's the one who kind of brings them all together. And like you said, even in that movie, insanely charismatic. The entire film plays through his character, and it's about, like, the whole movie is told in a flashback of the 2 characters in the movie being like, we want to go find our friend because we lost contact with him. Mm-hmm. And it, like, by the end of it, you're in tears. And I was. And, like, I have, you know, like, I have no problem admitting it. Because these Indian cinema films also, like, really strike me deep because, again, I appreciate that they're just willing to go, this is the way some people are. This is the way it is sometimes. People just have these big emotions for each other. And, you know, these love triangle stories, are they a little played out? Sure. But at the same time, seeing these different combinations of actors is kind of in and of itself exciting because Aamir Khan and Jackie Shroff are such big talents and their performances are so amazing. I mean, even again, not even to speak to the female lead, Urmila Matondkar, her role in this movie, obviously she's essentially the main character. She's the main character and they're the side characters, but the 2 of them together are so charismatic. You're just like, I could just watch the 2 of them on screen all day.
Mm. Yeah, I'll just say, because obviously this is I'm the noob. I'm the newbie here. Aamir Khan, it's funny because him as Muna, and I hope I'm saying that right, is initially, it's funny because when you first introduced him in the film, he is so kind of batshit. Like he's so just like loud and over the top, and he's getting into fights all the time. And also, I kind of thought the hat was a little cruisy. And him wearing that little like fishnet undershirt did not.
I'm not going to complain. Let's just put it.
I think looking like Trade is not a bad look, personally. But then as the movie progresses, you really do see like, wow, this guy is a really good actor, because you see there's so many times where his eyes almost look watery because he's, you know, his heart's breaking. He's in love, but he's, you know, afraid to say anything. And he's, you know, intimidated because he thinks that, you know, Jackie Shroff's character, Raj Kamal, who's like this huge superstar and this 5'10" handsome dude with a stash, and, you know, he can't compete with that. And then it's like, you really, as the movie progresses, like you really get to see more layers. Like, and he builds that really, really well. The one thing I kind of noticed though is Mili really the central character? Because as the film progresses, I feel like in some ways she's almost the one you know the least about, other than she wants to be famous in the movies. And that's set up from the beginning. But, you know, as the film progresses, you kind of see more layers of the men than I think you do of her. And I'm not saying it's a criticism. The movie's a lot of fun. I typically am not a fan of like romantic movies because I don't know, my dark, twisted heart. But that's slightly joking. But it was fun to see this approach to that kind of story, and the music was good. I mean, it was good to hear something different. Like, I think if this was a Hollywood musical with this plot line, I wouldn't be down with it unless it was like Paul Williams or Richard O'Brien doing the music. But yeah, but I kind of, you know, that's the thing, as the film progresses, like I feel like the main characters really are the men. I think they really are Muna and Raj as the film, especially by that latter half.
Yeah, I can see that, especially when it's like when Muna goes in and he's trying to visit Mina and she's either gone at that point, because there's a few times where he goes to her place and I think she's gone and then he chases after her for one of the times, but there's another where he goes in and he ends up having a drink with her dad. And it's just those two talking, and the way that the dad is always just kind of like, I'm my life sucks. He just plays like that stereotype husband, but you can tell that he's just joking around with that the whole time. But yeah, it does feel like she gets kind of surpassed as the heroine, because I mean, we do start with her and we learn her dreams and everything, but her dream kind of gets fulfilled pretty darn fast, and then she's just oblivious
like 20
to the
minutes
rest
into
of
the
it.
movie.
Yeah, which is amazing that she does. I mean, she has the struggle. She can't do that first screen test, but Muna helps her out, and then she just nails it, and then she just jumps right into being the superstar role.
Yeah, of course, when you look like Urmila,
oh my God.
I mean, it's like some people are just so ridiculously good looking. It's almost like supernatural. It's almost like you're not of this earth. Like you're clearly made from some kind of weird sparkle dust or something.
Oh yeah. I had lust in my heart, to quote our former president.
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, because she was just amazing. And there's the one fantasy sequence where it's Muna doing a number and she keeps showing up with the braids and the super short shorts and stuff. I'm just like, oh my God, I've got the vapors here.
I will tell you that almost every one of these romantic comedies that feature a traditional relationship of a man and a woman that I've seen in Indian cinema, the women are always just knock down, drop dead gorgeous. Like Kajol is another really good example. Anyone in DDLJ or KKKG, like those movies, like you have casts of people that are just really, really, really insanely good looking.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, everybody in this movie, for the most part, is good looking, like the main cast. I think it's funny, Mike, you mentioned Mila's dad. Talk about a character that's written very against type, especially in this kind of film. In this culture, even. Given that Indian culture really is a patriarchy, not a matriarchy. And the dad is just like, go for your dreams. Who gives a shit? Like, that's so weird, because in a lot of the movies that I've seen in Indian cinema, that's always the other way around. It's, in DDLJ, it's the mom who's in on SRK's kind of white lie. In KKKG, it's the moms who are kind of the ones trying to kind of move the pieces back together. Like that. It's never been the dads. The dads have always kind of been the stern authoritarians, and here you have her dad is just like a complete goofball. But yet at the same time is one of the kind of emotional cores of the movie, because he shares a couple scenes with people, especially that scene with Aamir Khan where he's drinking, where you're like, you completely understand that he understands what's going on and he's okay with it, but he knows that, like, again, he can't do anything about it. He can just cheer everybody else on from the sidelines.
Her dad ruled. I loved her dad.
Yeah.
I was like, man, what a great. Yeah, I liked her mother too. Like, I thought they were a good balance. Now, her brother, on the other hand,
little shit.
Oh, thank you. Now, you know how like Stephen King has that amazing phrase of shitter kids?
Yeah.
Her brother's a shitter kid. He's not quite as bad as, say, Lucy and Lamberto Bava's Macabre, who for me is like maybe the ultimate shitter kid. She's bad. but this one, her little brother, I just wanted to just reach through the screen and just slap his little face. Be like, you little shitter kid.
Such a pain in the ass.
Yeah. But I love though. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I love the side character of Parka.
Yeah, Aamir Khan's friend.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
He's, and it's kind of such a smaller role compared to the three, but by the end of the film, like, you're like, you love him. He's like looking out for his buddy. He's he's totally bros before hoes.
I'm actually surprised no one has mentioned Gulshan Grover as fake Steven Spielberg.
Oh my God.
Steven Kapoor, the Senior Spielbergo.
How was your subtitles on that? At one point he says that he's like Coppola.
Yeah. It's I do want to take an opportunity to mention the place that I watched this on, which was Eros Now. Which I didn't even know existed until you mentioned it to me, Mike. So $5 a month for all the Bollywood cinema and Indian cinema you could ever want. I mean, if you're into Indian cinema and you don't have it already, you should. But I guess, again, a lot of it's on Amazon Prime and a lot of it's on Netflix because most everything else I think we watched this month was either on Amazon or Netflix. So, but Eros Now, the subtitles on Eros Now were pretty good.
I imagine. Yeah, the subtitles on YouTube were pretty good as well. But just, when they had Coppola instead of Coppola, I thought that was pretty good. And the bratty, I'm the next Steven Spielberg or his Mexican equivalent. Yes.
Yeah. Steven Kapoor is really, it's 95. It's a time and a place. Aping Steven Spielberg in the 90s seemed to be kind of a thing. He's so ubiquitous and so famous at the time, obviously. So
he even had Spielberg's kind of like 90s mullet.
Oh, yeah. And like the baseball cap.
Yep. Yeah. But not just the baseball cap, like the weird pseudo military naval baseball cap that
right.
Yeah. It's
weird hats were a thing in this movie, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Speaking of the fashion, did Mili's like her, especially before she becomes famous, her fashion was wicked, like Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
It was it was great though. I loved all the fashions. Like that's the thing. Even if you're not into like movies with this kind of romantic plot line, and like you said, Chris, the plot is nothing. It's not changing any games by any means, but just this film's so beautifully photographed, like visually. There's always something to look at. The editing is really kinetic. Like I really loved how this film was put together.
Well, that's the other thing about this movie that I really appreciate. And you kind of already touched on it a little bit, Mike. In a lot of these Indian cinema films, you have seemingly a universe pause. Let's go to the music. We'll come back. And I mean, in a film like Entharan, they travel to Machu Picchu to do a song. And like the characters don't go there. It's the actors are there singing the song. You know what I mean? It's not, we're not made to understand that it's the actual characters went to Machu Picchu. But it's that weird thing where it's like, there's not an explanation that makes sense as to why this is taking place there. It's just beautiful to look at. I appreciate in this movie, they kind of give you a reason as to why some of these songs are happening outside of just, it's a dream or it's just happening, because some of the songs in the middle part of the movie are just them making those songs for the film in the film.
Right.
And I thought that was really clever and a little interesting, kind of neat and different way to frame the musical numbers in the film, because I don't know what everybody's problem is with the idea of Indian cinema having music. Like, oh, it just has a bunch of music. What the fuck is your problem?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry it doesn't have unnecessary amounts of gore and violence, but no sex in American cinema, ladies and gentlemen, because it's all you see blood and gore, but not dick and boobs. Like this inappropriate, off limits.
Yeah.
Well,
Also,
go ahead, Heather.
Oh no, you go ahead.
It's neat that the first song is a dream, and then one of Muna's songs, 2/3 of the way through, it's not necessarily a dream sequence, but it's drunken revelry. Like he's basically having a hallucination while he's drunk. So it's neat that they have that. And then, the songs that are actually part of the movie. So the movie within the movie called Rangeela as well, with the opening credits and everything. So that was kind of neat that they were really playing on this whole dream logic.
Right. And hey, we haven't mentioned what Rangeela means. Rangeela means colorful, and should be pretty obvious because that's the first thing you hear in this entire movie. Is the opening song is great. That opening sequence is so good, even though it's a dream sequence. Like that song is great, but I think for me, the standout song in the movie is the song that Aamir Khan sings when he's in the drunk state. It's heartbreaking. And at the same time, it's like so hopeful and wanting, but yet heartbreaking at the same time. And like you mentioned, Heather, Aamir Khan really knows how to sell the melancholy. And he really, he can do that hangdog face about as well as anybody can. I mean, he can really just make himself look really just at wit's end. And you see it towards, kind of towards the later third of the movie. But that song when he's singing to himself, quote unquote, I think that's if there's a standout moment in the film for me, it's that entire sequence because it's well choreographed. And again, if the music sticks in your head from these movies, they're doing their job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the choreography in that one in particular, parts of it almost reminded me of Kate Bush's music video for The Dreaming.
Okay.
Like particularly the way that like Mili's like stomping in the sand by the coast. If you compare the two, I don't know. It's a really, I mean, all of it, everything in this movie is really put together so beautifully. But that one is absolutely my favorite. As far as people whining about, music, who doesn't like music? Come on, music's. I'm not talking about the Sia movie. A lot of people didn't like that. But,
yeah, boy, that feels like it was her fault, though.
Oh, totally. No, but no, it's it's the thing is, I think if you love cinema, be open-minded. I mean, it's like I'm not the biggest fan of Westerns, but I could name you a bunch of Westerns I love because you look for stuff that's different. And, if you don't like Singing in the Rain or, those kind of musicals, that's fine. But this isn't Hollywood. This isn't the 50s. This isn't High School Musical. This is a different culture, a different country. And I think more people, that's the thing, people in the West, we isolate ourselves. I mean, not us three, of course, because we're amazing, but
speaking for everyone else, I'm sure.
But I mean, traditionally, like America, we're such an isolationist country, and it's bizarre because we're a melting pot. We're literally a land of immigrants, and why aren't we taught more about other cultures? India is legit one of the most populated countries on the planet, and has this amazing movies, like this movie system and this culture, and all people know about it is maybe like a reference to it they saw probably little bits and pieces there. I mean, this was my first introduction. I mean, I write about film for crying out loud, and it took me this long, which I'm ashamed of, but in my defense, there's a lot of freaking movies out there.
Yeah, never be ashamed of something like that. I mean, there's so much stuff that all three of us have never gotten to, so never feel ashamed of that. I mean, then there's like classic movies. I mean, Chris, have you seen Citizen Kane yet?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But it took you a little while. Okay.
You were on that episode, Mike.
All right.
You were there.
Okay.
So was Mark Begley, and he's older than me, and he hadn't seen it.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, there's
with
a bunch of stuff. I mean, Heather, my God, the stuff that you've seen, I can't even touch it. So please don't ever put yourself down for not having seen something.
Mike, I'm making you my personal Hong Kong cinema guru, by the way.
I mean, after he's a good person to be your guru for that.
After that taste of Full Contact, it's in my blood.
And that's the thing for me with these movies. The reason I fell in love with these movies was when I was traveling to India in 2011. They had them on the flight, and I watched them because I was like, I don't want to just watch whatever fucko American movie was on the flight. I had no interest. Like, I can watch those anywhere. So the first movie I ever saw was Entheron, which it's so insane that you have to just see it. It's The Matrix meets the Terminator meets Bicentennial Man. Yeah. And it's like 3.5 hours long. And it's just, it's fucking insane. But at the same time, it's such a joyous expression of cinema that I don't know if when I watch American cinema, I don't know if I feel it as much as I do when I watch Indian cinema sometimes. Like in Indian cinema, it feels like a joyful expression of something that we're not told to not do in this country, but it's like, if you do it, people are just like, okay, well, that's just not really a thing anybody cares about. Like, these movies tend to, aside from some like Parinda, tend to end on a rather high note. They tend to give the characters what they want and or sometimes deserve. I don't know. I don't know if maybe that's just me talking out of my ass, but that's the way I feel like there's something about Indian cinema that, like you said, Heather, it should be more palatable to Western audiences.
Well, I mean, Do you guys think part of it, because I was thinking about that too, because something Rangeela has that I found so charming is, and the film's literally about film, it's about movie making, but it's also about the passion of cinema and just the worldscapes and the feelings and the colors that you can create with film and cinema. And I feel like in America, like, you know, the land of multiplexes, it's almost sort of, I mean, movies are totally kind of viewed like fast food in a way, I think, by a lot of people. It's like, it's something you ingest, you enjoy it, you shit it out, and you move on. I mean, think about it. People don't really even think in terms of buying a movie. Like, I mean, because like we all stream stuff. This is how we watch this movie. And streaming's awesome. But, you know, a lot of us also are like, if we love something, yeah, I want to own it. I want to have a copy of it, because streaming comes and goes. That if you own a physical copy, you know, I don't know, that's a whole other thing. But I don't know. Do you feel like maybe like Americans, maybe, I don't want to sound elitist because I'm not trying to mean it like that, but almost take cinema kind of for granted. Like it's just sort of like disposable culture as opposed to like an event.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, our history it's spotted with that whole thing of like, okay, this movie played, you know, even like stuff in the 70s, even in the 80s. And right now it's so tough to find so many movies. But I mean, there were times where it was just like, yeah, we're going to show this and then we're going to throw it away. I mean, all of these lost films that we've had for, you know, decades. Just like, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think we're kind of take stuff way for granted.
Well, and like you mentioned, Heather, we live in exciting times where we have access to streaming. Like there's no, I think I said it on the last episode, like maybe instead of watching The Office for the umpteenth fucking time, maybe I'm not trying to be a dickhead, but there is this weird undercurrent of like just watching the same shit over and over again. I'm not saying that I'm not immune to it, because I am not immune to it. I have seen Lord of the Rings a lot.
Oh yeah.
As I know you have, Mike, a lot. But at the same time, like I'm always looking for something new and exciting and different to really kind of make it. New things to me are exciting, especially new Indian cinema films that I've never seen before. So I'm always game to watch something like this, but at the same time, like I wish that there was an easier way to get these movies here, other than just like you said, a streaming service. Because it's
I
don't know how do you get these movies in America with American subtitles? Can you even play them on Blu-ray? Like I don't probably can't even play them, right?
I mean, Eros also puts out a lot of stuff on DVD, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still do. And for a long time, well, around 2006 when YouTube started, I mean, YouTube was the delivery system for a lot of people who weren't back home in India and would be able to watch stuff. You know, I remember I had a couple coworkers at a job in 2007, 2008, where they would always just have a movie playing. And it was like, okay, that's just how you do it. So it's interesting that, things have changed definitely with that. I mean, I've got a shelf that's got tons of Indian films on there, and it's one of these like I really got to sit there and go through some of these. Like I'm finding out, our starlet here was in China Gate, and I've had a copy of that forever. So it's time to break that out and watch China Gate.
And like you mentioned, I mean, YouTube really is a great resource for Indian cinema because there's tons of free Indian cinema, like huge, not just like.
Was it a ghost?
No, what it's called is I keep telling them that I'm recording and they just don't listen. That's what it's called.
Oh no!
I'm even over in another part of the house far away, and it still happens.
Right.
YouTube. I think what's interesting about YouTube as a source is it's all free. Most of them are free. I think.
Yeah.
At least the ones that I've watched, and it's not just like some random shit movie. It's Sholay. It's all kind. I mean, it's DDLJ. You can watch most Indian cinema films on YouTube. To be perfectly honest with you, I mean, they're for whatever reason they're not cracking down on them. I don't know why. Not the same way that they crack down on like fuck you post Anchorman on YouTube and it's down within an hour. Like these episodes and these movies, these Indian cinema movies are on there in their 3.5 hour entirety, and it's like anybody could watch them and anybody should watch them. I think for me, the biggest barrier to entry is the length of these movies. And that's just it's just an expectation, and it's an expectation you have to go into these movies with, which is they're not going to leave anything up in the air. They're going to tell you everything about these characters. These characters are going to be fully realized. And that's the thing about Indian cinema that I think I really appreciate more than anything else, is by the end of the movie, I feel like I've gone on a journey with these characters. I know everything about them. They're living, breathing characters. And I'm on board with however the film ends because, again, I trust that the filmmaker knows what they're doing, and they seem to know what they're doing. Not just seem to, they do. And that's what happens when you have people like A.R. Rahman doing the music. A.R. Rahman, by the way, Heather, is the only reason most people know Indian cinema is because of the movie that A.R. Rahman got the Oscar for, which is Slumdog Millionaire. Which is a fucking terrible movie, and it should not be watched at all.
I mean, really, the best part of that movie is the end when they do the big song and everybody dances.
The big song in the fucking credits of the movie.
Right.
Like, because Danny Boyle does not understand what makes Indian cinema great. He made a British movie pretending. It's very much, the British just love abusing Indians, so that's what it is, I guess. I don't know.
It's true.
I mean, look at Lagan. I mean, that's what that entire movie's about, is the terrible British occupation of India. It's weird. It's just, it's really cynical to watch a Bollywood style movie win the Oscar when, like, these movies, the actual movies, are a million times better and deserve to actually be talked about, not Danny Boyle's fucking Slumdog Millionaire. It is frustrating because that's like the only, if people know Indian cinema, it's that and essentially nothing else.
Right. Maybe the scene from Ghost World.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I was very glad that the Jackie Shroff character doesn't put up a fight, that he realizes that Muna is better from Mili than he is. And when he kind of figures out what the score is at the end, he doesn't become a dick. He's just like, oh, okay, yeah. But he was just talking about how great you are or whatever, and just like steps aside.
And again, I really appreciate that kind of smart character writing.
Mm-hmm.
It feels real. This doesn't feel like characters. These feel like fully realized people who have legitimate emotions, and their reactions, when they react the way that they do, I'm not surprised.
Right.
It's not like, I don't understand why they're doing this. It's like, I totally get it, actually.
And you feel bad for him because he could have turned into a villain at that point. But instead, it's like, wow, I really feel bad for this guy because I know how excited he was that he fell in love with Mili. And when they have that moment of him, don't call me, Kamal G, just Kamal is fine. And, once she calls him by his name, just like that other movie with the cannibal in it.
Take a bite out of that one. We'll take a bite out of that one.
Then, it's like, oh, okay. So he falls in love. He's super excited. And then when he steps aside, that his heart broke.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Such a mature move.
Right.
And I love that too. I'm so glad you brought that up because, it would have been, the Hollywood maneuver would have been to have the alpha males duke it out. Like, I'm a man and this is my woman and we got to fight. And no, instead it's like, no, this is a grown man. And also I kind of, the thing I liked about it too, because Mili isn't just younger than him, like chronologically, but she seems to me almost not quite like a teenager, but very like sheltered in her life experiences.
Right.
Like, and so it's like Muna is a better fit because he's grown up with her and he knows the real her too. The thing is like Raj is clearly a good dude and he's charismatic, but it's almost like you kind of feel like he's kind of fallen in love more with what he's projecting upon her.
The idea of her. And look at her. Who wouldn't fall in love with this beautiful woman who, by the way, is a real life, a pretty badass humanitarian and an ex-politician. Yep.
Like, okay, lady, calm down. Okay, let some of us mere mortals have some glory here on this planet. She's so cool. But but it's that's the thing too. It's like, so whenever if anybody listening to this, if you hear somebody complain or if you yourself complain, oh, there's no good movies, there's no good music, la 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 la, you're not looking enough. There's a whole globe of culture. There's a whole globe of content. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'm constantly, almost eternally overwhelmed by all the things. I'm like, oh God, there's so much.
Oh,
I can't. How could you be bored in this realm? You know.
I stand by what I said. How could you just watch The Office over and over again? Like there's more content in the world than our brains and eyes could ever intercept and ever process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if you were to just pick a random year, like 1961, and you're like, okay, I'm going to watch every movie released in 1961 and, globally. I wonder how freaking long it would take you to do that.
Oh,
probably the closer you get to now, the longer it would take.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh God. Especially once you get direct to video.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about it.
Think about all those Steven Seagal movies you're going to have to watch.
Oh boy.
Poor Chris.
No, thank you.
More like, yes, please. Thank you. I'm doing God's work, as they would say. God.
Did you guys know that this was the basis for Win a Date with Tad Hamilton?
So I read that. I've never seen that, though. And reading the synopsis, it sounds like a shitty facsimile.
I have seen Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. I would say that the resemblance is passing at best, just as far as a Hollywood star, it goes off with the guy's gal and he's never confessed to her. But again, it's like we've seen this story. I'm sure there's a couple stories we could say, well, that's pretty much, the unrequited love is something that we get so much. And just that it's a Hollywood star or Bollywood star kind of running off with your gal. But I mean, Jackie Shroff is not like a sleazeball, and he's not macking on the girl. He's just like, it's very natural the way they fall in love together.
I do love the editing though, where Raj sees her dancing on the beach.
Yes.
And there's like these kind of like almost like fast cuts of him just staring. He's got sunglasses on, but if you didn't, his eyes would be like, doo-doo. Like he is like, dude, look at this. Like that cracks me up. It was so fun.
That was good.
It's such a fun movie. One part that kind of broke my heart though is when Muna tries to woo, and he's still trying to confess his love, and he takes her to a 5-star restaurant or hotel.
Oh God.
And but it was heartbreaking for me on 2 levels. One was the obvious, because this poor guy, and then Raj of course shows up and she gets swept up. But the menu, because everything that Raj was trying to, or not Raj, but Muna was trying to order, like this Indian food sounded delicious. And the waiter's like, oh, do you want Russian salad or French fries? And I'm like, I'm sorry, if I'm in India, the last thing I want is French fries. What is Russian salad? Is that red dressing?
I think Russian dressing is like Thousand Island, basically.
Yeah, that's what's on like a Reuben sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what a Russian salad is.
No,
maybe that's where they just give you a bowl of grain and say, "Eat it, motherfucker."
Oh, that
they would take your bowl of grain away from you, starve you to death, and then invade the part of your country where they starved your people. That's what they would do.
Do you know what I was really reminded of, Chris? Was another one of those Chow Yun-Fat movies. I mean, this really reminded me of All About Ah Long, maybe mixed with a little bit of. What was An Autumn's Tale?
Sure.
Because the whole thing of like the more successful guy and the woman, and especially when they go to the restaurant, I was just thinking of, Chow Yun-Fat at that posh restaurant, and he's just spending way too much money. I'm like,
being taken advantage of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like when I think about Chow Yun-Fat's performance in that movie and kind of the same echoey things in this movie, it speaks to the quality of the actors involved in this movie for me. Because again, I could sit here and just be like, well, I've seen this 1,000 times before. Because again, it is just kind of very boilerplate. But similarly to An Autumn's Tale, it's the performances that are the reason we're here.
Right.
It is the reason that and that's the thing. Again, I mentioned it on the last episode. The thing about Indian cinema is these actors, we don't treat our actors in this country the way they're treated in India. In India, they're venerated. These are people that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who follow their careers, who see their movies because of them being in it, not anything else. They're going to see if Rajnikant is in a movie, they're going to go see it because they love Rajnikant or SRK or Amitabh. They're going to see it because of who's in it. And I don't hear that a lot in the United States anymore. That's not like maybe in the 90s it was. Again, I'm only 32, so I can't speak to the 70s and 80s, but I don't hear people my age now going, "Oh, that new Tom Cruise movie is out, and I really love Tom Cruise, so I'm going to go see it because it's got Tom Cruise in it." But in India, it's like, that movie's got Aamir Khan in it. I fucking love Aamir Khan. I'm going to go see this Aamir Khan movie. I don't care what it is. And then you have Aamir Khan dancing around in a policeman's hat.
Mike, I don't know why that cracked me up.
Mike's unrequited love for Aamir Khan will come out sooner. There's a reason he's one of the big five. It's like him, Amitabh, SRK, and then I guess it would be Rajnikant. And then again, you've got like people like, I mean, Jackie Shroff is a huge actor, obviously. I mean, he's a lead in Parinda, so he has his own movie as a lead. But yeah, it's weird because in India, their actors are treated very differently than in the States. And it shows in the movies because they're going to see these movies because of who's in it. That's why the plots are just kind of, you're here for the spectacle. You're here for the actors. You're here for the singing and the dancing and the spectacle and the excitement. Maybe the plot doesn't matter. Because again, like in DDLJ, it's about a guy chasing after a girl and she's getting married to someone else. Like, there you go. It's in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, it's the same thing. It's like a guy is reconnecting with an old love. It's like these are really very standard stories that are just really having an injection of Indian culture directly mainlined into their veins. And it's, I don't know. I always wax about Indian cinema, so shut me up, please. I really do. Like, I mean, again, I love it. I'm like, I don't know why I'm such a big cheerleader for it, but whenever I watch these movies, I'm never disappointed. At least I haven't been yet.
Well, I think I know why. Because even though I'm the baby, I'm the baby here as far as this Bollywood.
Gotta love you. I've heard. You said I'm the. Never mind.
Oh, what?
It's a dinosaurs reference. Come on.
Oh God. Oh, Chris. No.
I love dinosaurs. Sorry.
I love actual dinosaurs.
That's fair. Okay.
Fair. No, I think I know why, because to me it's like a lot of things you're saying, I mean, encompasses, I think, a lot of people like ourselves, like people that love film. You know, it's like all of us, and you know, I'm sure all of the, and if you're listening to a film podcast, obviously you're part of the tribe too. Like, you know, film takes us to so many different feelings and places and experiences and stories, and we all see the how special that is. Like, and it's a multimedia art form too, you know, because you have the visual, the sonic, the literary, you know, the performative, all in one go. And on top of that, like, you know, what kind of film fan watches a movie because of the actors? Our kind of film fans. Like, I mean, I've watched some horrible movies that I knew were not gonna like be the best things, but I'm like, Udo Kier's in it, Susan Tyrrell's in it, Timothy Carey's in it. I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I think people like ourselves like can definitely relate to that. And also I gotta thank Mike for sharing with us the Russian salad recipe. Which I'm going to take a hard pass on that.
The question was answered. You just didn't want to know the answer.
I mean, honestly, it doesn't look that different from, say, like a potato salad that would be at a Southern Baptist like picnic. But again, most casseroles and things like that at Southern Baptist picnics, a hard pass. Actually, just the church experience in general.
I don't know. That potato salad made by an 80-year-old woman is pretty good.
Yeah, but I start bursting into flames, dude. I can't go near.
Well, I think that more or less applies to anybody who comes onto this show.
Heathens unite.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I think about Indian, like DDLJ, one of my favorite Indian movies, like I would put it up against the best romantic American comedy that I can think of, and it hangs and bangs, and probably I would say is better than most of them, because again, it doesn't feel so kind of fake. Again, I believe it inherently, and maybe it's just because maybe it's just because I want to believe, and I am able to suspend disbelief with Indian cinema. But I don't know. I'm glad that this is something that I do every year, because every time we always say the same thing, no matter who it was on the episode. Man, this movie was really good. I wish I was watching more of them. Every year, every time. It's like you said, Mike, you've got a shelf of Indian cinema movies that you want to watch. When are you going to find time to do them? Heather, this was your first Indian cinema movie, but you want to watch more.
Oh yeah, this is definitely not going to be my last. And to be honest, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, I don't like rom-coms are not my genre.
Right, sure.
And especially
not mine either.
No, I mean, the closest I would come to would maybe be, and it's British, Truly, Madly, Deeply with Alan Rickman. I like that, but it's kind of sad. You know, like, I don't know, as far as like pure rom-coms, does a Marx Brothers count? I don't know. Like, I love the Marx Brothers. But this film was so much fun. Like, I think if there was a Hollywood equivalent to this, I never saw that one with a date with Todd. Is it Todd or Tad?
Tad, yeah.
Tad? His name's Tad?
It's Josh Duhamel. So dreamy. And the other male lead is Topher Grace.
His name is Tad? What, was Chet taken? God, that's an awful name. I'm sorry. Tad sounds like he's got the tiniest little nutsack.
Yeah,
right?
it was a play off of Tab Hunter, I think.
Well, Tab Hunter is dreamy.
Yeah.
But it's Tab. Tab is like, ooh, a drink. Like, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
Tad is like, you know, some yuppie butthole on the golf course that talks down to you. I don't.
Tad.
But also, yeah, I mean, that storyline. I mean, even Blue Oyster Cult have a song from the 70s called The Marshall Plan, where a guy basically loses his girlfriend at a rock show to the band. That's a much darker take. Never mind. It's a great song.
It doesn't have an uplifting ending like this movie does.
No. There's no telling what happened to that girl, especially if they fed her to the roadies. But there's a musical for you.
Yeah, holy shit.
It's like, wow, nobody's going to be giving me a bag of money to make my Blue Oyster Cult rock musical movie opus. And that's a sad world.
Why not? Right?
I know.
Why not? How could you work Godzilla and Don't Fear the Reaper into a rock opera? That's
I'd be going some deep cuts, man.
It's what's funny is, like you mentioned with music, like even in the horror movies, even in Parinda, a crime movie, they still find time to do the music. They still find time. It's such an integral part of these movies that they always find time. Like, I'm not sure I've seen an Indian cinema movie without music yet. So,
man, I love that. I mean, think about like opening the box where you're incorporating music like that into different genres. Like, I mean, because like you'd say horror movies. I can't think of that many like European or Western horror movies that have done it. There's a tiny few. I mean, like Necromantic 2 stops for a moment to have a song called Delicious Skeletons, which delights my heart to know. And now that's a good romantic comedy.
Oh, like, yeah, I like Necromantic that. Is totally a great romantic comedy. When she fucks that corpse with a pipe penis.
No, that's the first one. There were some musical numbers in the first one, Chris. Okay.
Yeah, get it straight.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I've only seen the first one because...
Oh, you should see too.
Maybe.
No, it's got a song called Delicious Skeletons, man. And I don't think there's any semen in it, so you're probably safe.
But that first movie is just so gnarly. I'm sorry. There are a few movies that I have watched where I'm like, I could do without again. Or ever, frankly. Ever again.
Oh, wow. It's not for everybody. I understand that.
Corpse fucking. It's not for everybody.
It's not a real corpse. I mean.
But it is in the movie.
Well, I mean, but it's not an ad. It's not like they literally like,
sure.
You know. I mean, but
wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah, that's more true crime, I think.
Yeah.
At that point.
Fellini's Satyricon had all kinds of things, but our movie has real corpse fucking, ladies and gentlemen.
I've got some stories about Satyricon, but I should probably save that for after we record.
Oh my.
No, it's nothing tawdry. It's sort of a family in joke.
Oh.
It's actually, I'll just tell it now because it's real quick. My stepfather has a guttural reaction if you mention Satyricon in his presence, because like and this has been happening since I was a teenager. But he'll be like, oh, like he shudders, and he'll be like, Heather, have you seen it? And I'm like, yeah, I liked it. And he's like, man. And when we visited his father, who's no longer with us now, but his dad was from Venezuela, and we visited Miami in '95. Actually, the year this came out. Hey, Rangeela came out, and somehow Satyricon got brought up in front of his dad. It was probably me.
Whoever would have done such a thing, Heather?
Right.
You're such a heel.
But yeah, a little bit. I'm a baby face though too.
Yeah,
but
a tweener.
I'm a twin. But he was like, oh. And then he looked at my stepdad. He's like, ew, hey, have you seen that movie? Oh, it's just terrible. They didn't have a lot in common, to be honest. But the one thing they could see eye to eye on was having a very, very macho fear reaction to Satyricon.
I have a very macho. I have a very macho fear reaction to Aamir Khan's hat in this film. So I want to know what the story was behind that hat, because again, having just seen another movie from the late '80s with SRK in it, where he wears a almost identical hat throughout the entire movie. It's a weird coincidence because it's not like it's just a ball cap.
No, it is kind of hard. It's almost like a Leatherman's cap, but it's got like a little star. Is it like a star on it?
Normally, chaps are worn with a hat like this.
Assless chaps.
But all chaps are assless.
Exactly.
Assless chaps. Don't you just mean chaps?
Yes. Aamir Khan, I would love to see him, like, if somebody was ever going to do like a proper like version of Crime and Punishment, I think he would make an amazing Raskolnikov.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Eyes.
Yeah,
eyes.
He's also just got this sort of depth. He's got like a really good depth about him. Like I'd like to see him in more stuff.
Yeah, I really recommend Dangal. And speaking of songs, I don't think there's a lot of songs in there, but yeah, it's fantastic. And he goes from like 20 to 60 in that movie, and he just pulls it off so great.
Yeah, I would suggest Lagan. Lagan is.
Oh God, yes.
I mean, it's about a cricket game for the ages, and by the end of it, it's so emotionally invested that it again, like, I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what it is, but every time I watch one of these movies, like I said, I'm always floored by the emotions that they tap into, and just the raw, real feeling of like, I'm not watching actors, I'm watching these people. These are the characters in the film, and it's just There's a reason that these actors are so venerated, is because they're just so goddamn charismatic. I mean, they are. They really are.
I was laughing pretty hard when he starts up a cricket game with her little brother, and I was just like, "Oh, hey, better be careful. It might take you a few days to finish that game."
Exactly. 6 years from now, you'll be playing a really long cricket game.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's Lagan's on Netflix, and we did an episode about it last year, so it's definitely. And it's a talk about a film that just lets Aamir Khan do everything. It's the Aamir Khan show. So plus,
it's fantastic.
Aamir Khan is essentially half naked throughout the entire movie too. So.
And he's looking good.
He's looking real good. Hey,
he is easy on the eyes.
He sure is.
That little chest hair peeking through.
Oh yeah.
I like that. No, none of this clean shaven Kindle. Like now, me, my lovely Hell's Bells co-hostess and sister from another Mr. Kat Ellinger and I both agreed. We hate this whole trend of like Hollywood actors. They all look the same at this point. They all are like Ken dolls. They're hairless. They're not super masculine for the most part. And it's just like, I don't know. It's nice to see like some body hair,
Jackie Shroff. I mean, I get it.
Oh yeah, he was rocking the chest hair too.
Yeah,
like
roguishly good looking. Like
I like. He just happened to have that shirt buttoned.
Oh yeah.
Oh, just a little bit. Like, hey, ladies. Oh, the wind's blowing. You see these
Check me
tufts? You see these tufts of hair?
Yeah. It's the charisma of these actors is just, it's unparalleled. It really is. Like I said, I really can't say enough. So Mike, final thoughts on Rangeela?
Yeah, track it down, watch it, listen to the soundtrack. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, A.R. Rahman, right?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus. And you can tell it's A.R. Rahman, too. That's the other thing we didn't mention. Like, if you've heard his other stuff, it's like the moment the music starts going with that percussive beat, you're like, this is A.R. Rahman. Like, 100%. It's fantastic. What about you, Heather? Final thoughts on Rangeela?
I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's like a piece of candy that just sits in your mouth and it just slowly dissolves and you enjoy it and you're glad you ate it and you're glad you tried something different. And I highly recommend, especially if anybody listening, if you want to see something different, especially if you haven't seen a Bollywood movie, I think this is a great, entrance. It obviously got Mike.
Yeah.
And it's getting me. So yeah. And just, the three leads are just hard to beat. They're amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, would I have liked to have seen Amitabh in this movie? Sure. But I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, just put him in. I don't know if Amitabh and Aamir Khan have been in a movie together. I'm sure they have, and I would like to see that. But Heather, Amitabh is like, I think you would agree, Mike, he's probably like one of it's like him, Aamir Khan, and SRK are like the big ones. They're the really heavy hitters. Because Amitabh was like the big actor in the 70s, and he's just dashingly good looking. It's like in Dawn from was that last year, Mike, or 2 years ago? I mean, talk about open shirts and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's just, oh my God, sex appeal out the wazoo. That's the other thing. It's just like these movies are full of like sex appeal and just, again, bold, beautiful choices and colors. It's great. Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan. So on that note, let's take a break and we'll play a preview for the first Culture Cast of May.
He's a criminal's worst nightmare. A cop who enjoys the danger.
No guns, no jiu-jitsu, just bring him down.
Do you really want to jump? Well, then that's fine with me. Come on.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait a minute. What
He was ready to retire. Now, he's gonna wish he had.
Gun!
Raj, meet your new partner.
New partner?
Too old for this. If these guys can just stand each other.
What you got in there?
Boy and Smith?
A lot of old timers carry those.
The bad guys don't stand a chance.
Don't kill anybody. Don't kill anybody.
I'm too old for this. Are you as good as you say you are?
Nobody can touch me.
Suppose we better register you as a lethal weapon. You ever met anybody you didn't kill?
Well, I haven't killed you yet.
Right, on the first Culture Cast of May, I'll be joined once again by my good friend, Mr. Mike White, because him and I are going to be talking about a movie that I've never seen, ever, ladies and gentlemen, which is shocking because I've
Citizen Kane.
Round 2.
Oh, that's right, the sequel. Yeah.
Citizen Caning in Thailand.
There's no Kane as Citizen Kane.
Right. The Kane from Citizen Kane. Then we're going to be talking about Lethal Weapon, which I've never seen. So, all right.
Getting too old for this shit, Chris.
I know. Getting too old to have not seen Lethal Weapon is what it is. Apparently. I've seen National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 more times than I've ever seen Lethal Weapon. So
that's kind of amazing.
I mean, Loaded Weapon 1 is pretty great.
I mean, you got Tim Curry dressed up like a Girl Scout. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
And William Shatner is General Motors.
That's right.
It just sounds fucking stupid. The best part of that movie, there's 2 gags in that movie that are amazing. The scene on the beach with the trailer, the wrong trailer that they blow up, that just happens to have fucking Bruce Willis in it, which is hilarious. And then when Emilio Estevez just randomly pops up into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which makes no sense whatsoever, but is the absolute stupidest thing in that movie, and because it's just, I don't know, I'm a huge fan of the Turtles, so I'm biased, but we're gonna be talking about Lethal Weapon, and Mike's gonna be joining me, and I'm excited because I've never seen it, but I know that it's good. I've heard good things, and then we'll talk about 2 and 3 and 4, right, Mike?
No.
Wrong. You can do that. I will not be participating.
That's right. Once is enough for a lot of those. I will probably watch 2 again, but that's about it. Just so I can see Josh Ackland say diplomatic immunity.
That's the only part of the Lethal Weapon series I know is that diplomatic immunity thing. Consider it revoked. Oh my God. So until then, Mike, where can people find you?
You can always find me over at the Projection Booth Podcast, which oddly enough is available at projectionboothpodcast.com.
What about you, Heather? Where can people find you?
You can find me over at my website, mondoheather.com. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon under, I know this is a shocker, at Mondo Heather.
Whoa.
I know. Whoa. I just blew your minds.
I'm floored. Just would not have imagined that might have been what it was.
I lied. It's actually under Walter Mondale. Lady Walter Mondale, that is.
As for me, you can find me at cstachiw.com or cstasha.com. That's my link tree. Go there. Mike and I work on a lot of stuff together, like a certain show about a certain shabby detective known as Columbo. And other things. Barney Miller. Lots of 70s TV shows.
Yeah.
It's kind of our wheelhouse. It's a weird wheelhouse, but it seems to be our wheelhouse a little bit. You know, Kolchak, Barney Miller, Columbo. Timothy Carey's in Columbo. He doesn't know how to chop lettuce.
Uh-huh.
And he knows how to chop
chili.
Serving up some fucking chili, baby. You want some chili?
It's amazing.
Yeah. When you mentioned Timothy Carey, I was like, the fucking chili. That goddamn chili.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally eat Timothy Carey's chili.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a metaphor?
Yeah. Is that a euphemism for something?
That sounds like a disgusting metaphor. I don't want to.
I'm going to eat his chili. What the actual fuck?
Yeah. Texas style.
Yeah. Oh,
no beans.
Were you going to eat him? Are you going to eat him like Army Hammer style? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, boy.
Wait.
Texas style chili.
No. Oh, my God.
Texas style chili. That's what it is in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I know. I'm a vegetarian, though, man.
Human meat doesn't count.
That's true. Long pig.
That's right.
That's right. Long pig. Oh my God. But yeah, so as for this show, culturecast.com, patreon.com/culturecast, all those places that you can go to support the show if you want to. If not, just keep listening. Heather, Mike, thank you both so much for joining me. It's been fun. Until next year with the Bollywood movies, maybe, probably not. Not really. But yeah, I'm glad you guys both enjoyed it. Not that I was worried, but Mike had already seen it, so I had never seen it. It was Mike's suggestion, actually. So I'm
Mike's the man.
Yeah. Wow. Weird. Let's boost Mike's ego once more. And we'll catch you on the next episode.